I painted my kitchen countertops 3 years ago, and today I'm gonna be answering one of the biggest questions that I still get on that video, and that is, how are the kitchen countertops holding up? Hi everyone, my name is Shannon, and I wanna welcome you here to my channel, The Daily DIYer. So if you have not watched that video, I will link it up here in the iCards and down below. You can go back and watch the whole entire video in all its details. Today, I thought I would take the opportunity to kind of give you a Cliff Notes version of the process. That way you can go back and watch that and get more details from it, but here you can kind of get a quick glimpse into how the process went. Let's start by going back 3 years to where it all started and look at the before. Yes, we're still using these same counters today, more on that shortly, but now let's get into the painting process. So of course, I started by cleaning the countertops really well and then coming in with 80 grit sandpaper and my orbital sander to sand down my laminate countertop surfaces. Then I wiped all of that dust from sanding away and taped off my backsplash and cabinets. Now this is a very important step. You need to make sure you add a primer on as your base coat. You can find this really inexpensively even at Walmart. We tried to roll as much as we possibly could to get a nice even finish with a foam roller, but then to get down into the corners and any of those hard to reach areas, we used a very soft bristle brush. Then you'll want to go ahead and let that dry completely overnight before we get to the step of decorative painting the countertops. So I wanted my countertops to have a warm tone to them, and I also wanted them to match the paint color that we had just put on the kitchen walls. So I actually started with a latex paint first as the base coat. That way I would get that warm and cozy sort of undertone. But now, of course, at this point, you want to give your countertops the base color that you want. I did 2 coats of that latex paint, letting it dry several hours in between each coat. And now at this point, you want to give your countertops that faux finish that you're going for. I sort of wanted a marble type effect, so I used 3 different colors of acrylic paints to get that faux look. And you can go back to that video and watch the details of the colors that I used and the technique that I used to get that veining. Some tips I do have for you though is to make sure you have wet brushes as you are stippling and adding your textures. I'll also say definitely work in smaller sections. I kind of worked in 3 foot by 3 foot sections, so that way I could kind of keep that space wet, get it the way I liked it, and then blend it over to my next counter space area. And the last step, which is also equally as important as your base primer, is also your sealer that is gonna go on top. So I used a 1-coat poly acrylic, which basically is a water-based acrylic that is non-yellowing. Now it did say it was a 1-coat application, but being that I knew these were gonna get used so much, I doubled up and did 2 coats of this poly sealer just to be safe. And then you can see the complete difference just a little bit of paint can make. We went from some outdated orangey, yellowy, creamy colored countertops, ones that were still in really good condition, just the colors were out of date, into ones that were much more on trend and cohesive to the look that we were going for in our kitchen. So get as creative as you want with this process. And like I said, if you're not happy with the first turnout, then before you seal it, you can go ahead, add another coat of primer, paint over it, and try again. Once you're happy with it, then you can add those top coats on to seal it. I'm sure you noticed in the before and after that our backsplash changed too, and no, we did not install new backsplash. I actually painted that as well. So I have a full tutorial on that process that I will link up in the iCards and down in the description box below too. So if you're interested in that, definitely check that out after this video. So now on to the actual question I came on here to answer. 3 years later now, we still have the same countertops that we use daily. And I will have to say my countertops get used a lot for the first year and a half. I actually use this as a filming space, a crafting space. You saw a lot of my videos being made right here on these countertops. So I don't think the usual person probably crafts and sands and drills on their countertops, but I want to show you what the after effects of all that is, on top of just normal everyday wear and tear from cooking and cleaning in a family and kiddos, and obviously crafting for me too. So after 3 years, these countertops have some wear on them, but honestly, I couldn't be more happy with the way that they have held up. There are some nicks here and there from something that got on them and somehow ate through that clear top coat, which was sort of disappointing. I wish I knew what that was so I could deter you from doing it, but I would say stay away from anything that is acidic or has some kind of solvent in it that could eat through paint. And then there's two more things that I will mention that kind of happened. We had a window cling of all things, the jelly things that stick to your window, that got sat on a countertop and it was orange, and somehow the top coat took on that orange color. So kind of be careful of things that could dye your countertops too. At first, around the sink, we didn't have any trouble at all. It's only been within probably the last year that we've seen a little bit of chipping around that area, but I just think because it sits around water so much that it does tend to kind of get underneath that paint a little bit around the edges. But really, for the most part, it has held up really, really well. So this was a temporary fix for us. We never really expected it to last us 3 years. We are hoping to actually replace these countertops here shortly. That's why I wanted to go ahead and film this video for all of you so you could see if it held up. Do I recommend it? Absolutely. This is a very cost-effective way to take your space to completely transform it with just a little bit of paint, maybe a weekend's worth of time, and really you're spending more time waiting for it to dry than you are working on it. So as far as workload goes, not that bad. As far as expense goes, so incredibly expensive. And then as far as longevity goes, it's lasted us 3 years, and my mom did hers and it lasted her 5 years. So I would absolutely recommend this if you are looking into painting your kitchen countertops. And if you have any more questions, you can leave those down in the comments below for me. Now, we just did a huge kitchen update where we painted our kitchen cabinets, installed new flooring, so it looks totally different. I would love to share that all with you too, so if you want to head on over to that video, I'll link it here, and you can see the rest of our big kitchen update and remodel. This kitchen has come a long way and we're not done yet, so please subscribe so you can come back and see more kitchen DIYs. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.